Welcome to the Simplify, Lead and Grow podcast, where business leaders share real strategies for growth. Hosted by Steve Kopecki, each episode offers insights to help you simplify, lead with purpose, and achieve success. Get ready for a wealth of knowledge and inspiration. The journey to simplify, lead, and grow starts now.
For today's episode, I'm excited to introduce you to Kristina George, someone I know quite well, a partner at Next Step Insurance located in Plymouth, Wisconsin. Next Step is an independent insurance agency known for providing tailored health insurance solutions for individuals, families, and businesses. They specialize in a variety of insurance products, including Medicare plans, individual health insurance, long-term care, and employer-sponsored group insurance. Today, we'll delve into how they maintain this level of quality and continue to innovate in their field. Welcome, Kristina.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Yes, you bet.
Here.
Hey, start this out with just a discussion about your journey and what got you to this point.
Being a business owner has been a very long journey. I wish I knew what I knew now in my 20s, right? I spent a lot of time not knowing what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I did a lot of jobs, a lot of very short-term jobs. In Minneapolis, I spent 5 years doing temp jobs and no more than 3 months long. And it was right in the tech era of the start of technology. So it was kind of perfect because they would say, hey, do you know how to do XYZ system? And I would say, sure. And I'd go out there and they would assume I didn't. So they would teach me how to do Microsoft. And I'm like, I'm in college. I know how to do Microsoft. Well, then I just started saying yes to everything. So I'd go out and I'd say, sure, I know how to do Excel spreadsheets or whatever. And they would teach me how. And so I learned so much in those 5 years about technologies and how to run an office and personalities and different cultures. Eventually, I worked a couple jobs longer than that, 3 months. But it was pretty fascinating. Almost every industry I probably have dabbled in, from like filing to I actually did horseback riding, trail riding once.
Wow.
For a summer. I mean, you almost name it. I've done it. Receptionist all the way to, the executive assistant of CEOs. And then I moved to Wisconsin with the idea of staying home. I had a new baby and I wanted to be a stay-home mom for that short time in her life before she went to school. Mm-hmm. And then I'm ready to go back to work and I could not find a job. And they're like, oh, it's been so long since you've been in the industry. And I'm like, office doesn't change. It's not a quick moving, like, once you know Excel, you kind of know Excel. Once you know Microsoft. And I had the hardest time. And then these two ladies were just starting an insurance company and right before the Affordable Care Act and said, can you come help? Because one of them was not tech savvy at all and was feeling overwhelmed by the prospect of people calling and what was going to happen. And so then I joined with these two ladies in October of 2013 for learning insurance. And it's been a whirlwind since. This is the longest job I've ever had selling insurance, or at least working in the insurance world. And I am now 52. So, I had to be in my upper 40s before I finally found what I wanted to do.
Wow. That's great. But you can hear the passion in your voice about the industry that you're in and that you're leading this with a partner and you have a team of how many people?
Yeah, now we have a staff of 18, including myself and my business partner.
That's great.
And it's so weird because insurance is not a fun topic. Nobody's in high school going, woo, I can't wait to be an insurance person. And it was even the first couple of years when I was working with these two ladies, I was the office manager. I was very proud of that, but I was learning all about health insurance, and I just like to learn. So it was something new, and the Affordable Care Act, or AKA Obamacare, had just come out and everybody had their opinions. And so I was enjoying researching it. And then the other lady sold Medicare. What do I know? I'm not in 65. So I was learning about that. So that part was fascinating. But when I realized, because I can look back now and go, when did I want to be an agent? Like, what was it from being just running an office to being an agent was when a lady came in depressed. She was in her 60s. She hated her job, had a new manager who's 23, doesn't know what she's talking about, and she's so frustrated. But I have to have my health insurance. I need insurance until I hit Medicare. And I just wanted to see if I could afford it. So I run her a quote, and it was cheap. I mean, it was like the woman was going to be living off like Social Security and her savings account. So the insurance was going to be like $10 or something. And she was so excited. She's like, oh my goodness, I can retire. I can do this thing. And she's like, I'll let you know. And she walked out the door, and the next day she came in and she's like, I quit, sign me up. And she was so excited. And I'm like, I just gave this woman her life back only because I know how the system works, and I could tell her that. And I think that's what did it. And I've seen it over and over, I sense her, people that insurance affects your day-to-day life, and you don't think about it, but if you never use it, great, wonderful. I hope, I'm selling you something I hope you never use because you've had outside of your annual, because you've had a wonderful, healthy existence. But when you need it, it's important, and so I would never have said, oh, health insurance is what really helps people,
Yeah.
But it really does. And that's why I'm passionate about it now, is it can really help people when they need it the most.
I think you explained a story where a person was not doing something that they really wanted to do in life as well, and you showed them that they could afford to do it, so they moved on to the next stage. Do you keep in contact with this particular person?
No, she's a Medicare client now, so she's been our client. But once you hit Medicare, you don't have to come around as much. But a lot of our clients from those first couple of years are still our clients for that same reason. We got to give them what they wanted, to stop working at a factory. I mean, we hear that a lot. We live in the Midwest, and some of these guys that walk in have been at the same factory job since they were 17, and they're 64 now, and they're, or 63, and they're just beat down and they want to quit, but they're trying to do right. They're the breadwinner, and they're the insurance carrier of the family, of their wife, right? Their kids are gone, but, and I get to say, you can quit that factory job. And they're like, what? And you can just see them light up, and wives that, spouses, because we've had plenty of women that have worked hard too, that are now going, all right, we can do our dream of the retirement, the fun, and I don't know any other industry that you get to do that. Maybe financial to a certain degree, when they finally go, hey, you have enough money, you can retire. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, health insurance, I never knew how important health insurance was. I'm a pretty healthy person, but, who knew that health insurance lets people, do their dream. Yeah. Retirement, I helped a guy start his own business that he never thought he could, because I could help him get affordable insurance. In a really rough time, he'd lost his job. It was COVID. His wife was pregnant. He's going, I don't know how I'm going to afford to have a baby. And I'm like, I got some great news for you. Your insurance is going to be free. Your max out of pocket was like minimal, $1,700 at the most. It wasn't even that much. It was probably $800. And I said, you got yourself a year. In December, when I talked to you, you let me know if your business, because he's a welder, he's an artist, not welding like at the job, he's building art. And he, during open enrollment, I went, so? He's like, thank you. He was like crying on the phone, because he's like, you letting me live my job, and I could afford my child, and and he's still doing it to this day. So every year I catch up, I go, all right, how's the business? And his business is just growing.
Wow, you're making a connection that I haven't before. That's great. I mean, then insurance is being, to manage risk, but you're talking about how it's allowed people to take on more risk, actually, and do something that they really wanted to do.
Right.
As you've grown your business, how have you simplified your business in order to be able to grow it?
Technology, for sure, and that's still. In fact, that's going to be our next big move in 2025, is to simplify technology even more, as technology is growing. AI, we have to have a CRM, a centralized program but now there's so many new programs out there. So then we have one system for phone calls and one system for this and one system for that. And you're just like, so I'm like, we have to simplify this. Let's narrow this down so it's all inclusive, or as much as we can, so that I don't have to pay somebody to do texting, enter data, so that's been kind of a constant, is being kind of up to date with technology. Even if I'm not one that's up to date with technology, I've assigned somebody in my office going, we got to make this better. We got to make this faster. So I gave it to somebody to research who had the time, and it will probably impact more than me. I'm not as hands-on with the data entry anymore because I'm the business owner. I'm doing different things. So I'm like, instead of me doing it, I don't need to be the one to research it. I'm letting the people who are hands-on, who are going to be doing it, do the research. Now, they don't get to make the decision, of course. They're still going to present to Kevin and I their options, their why they like it, So we're like, all right, give us your top 3, and then he and I will make that decision based on other things that they may not know about, other future plans. Sure. So technology is a huge for making things simple, much more simple.
I like how you're getting the employees in your organization. Do you call them employees or associates? What do you call them?
Employees. The staff.
The staff. Yeah. I like how you're getting them engaged before the decision's made, and certainly before the system is implemented. Like some other organizations might do that and just expect people to adopt. You're actually getting them involved in the decisioning and the identification and the decisioning of a solution.
They're actually excited about it now, as opposed to we've had to change CRMs because the one we had was not fulfilling. So we switched it, and we had just hired a bunch of people, and they were like, oh my goodness, we're never doing this again. It was dreadful because it's a pain. The data's, it's never smooth when you change from one system to another. And I kind of made a comment because I'm realizing our current CRM it's not what it needs to be.
Yeah.
And I know it's not what it needs to be. But if I just unilaterally make this decision and go, all right, everybody, by the way, here's the new system, nobody's going to be happy. Mm-hmm. But I said, you know what? It's not my job. It's their job. They're the ones who are in it way more than I'm in it. Yes, I'm in it, but not like they are. So I went, I'm going to make it's your choice. When you guys hate this system because it's not doing what it needs to do, let's look. And so, I kind of showed them some stuff. I showed them some examples of what it could be. The current CRM gave us false hope that they were going to give us something. And they were all getting excited about how it could do stuff that now they're all on board. They cannot wait to get the CRM. They're just waiting for us to get through this quarter so we can get to the new one. And I'm like, how much easier is that switchover going to be? Because the people who are in it day in, day out are excited for the change.
And probably one of the most important steps.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, getting that engagement early on and getting them involved so they can understand and even design, in some cases, the solution makes a lot of sense.
They know it better than me, right? I mean, the president of a manufacturing company absolutely is trying to do the right thing, but the people that are doing the forklifts and are going to know the shortcuts or the things they need, or this 2-step process would make this current 14-step easier. So if I can get them to show me and build it, and the nuance that I maybe don't see anymore. I'm not the office manager anymore. I don't know how these reports run. Yeah. And I 100% think every business owner, when they're going to do a major change like that, should get the people who are involved the most in on it. I mean, I have some agents who are not going to be happy with the change because if it ain't broke, why, if it's not broke, why do we have to fix it? But they're not in it day in and day out. And it's the support staff in my situation. But yeah, I think if anybody's going to do a change of a system or a process, the people who do it every day should be involved in that decision making.
That's great. So there's enough freedom within a framework of implementing a system or selecting and implementing a system. What are some assessment tools like Colby and DISC and things like that you've used to really understand each individual, what their preferences are and desires as far as working in the environment?
We've certainly used Colby. In fact, we use Colby when we're hiring. If somebody we think they're a good fit, we send them, and I can't remember what it's called now, like B2B or something, where they do fill out the Colby and they're compared to other people that we say are high performers in that specific position to see if they're a good fit without it being necessarily personality. Because yes, you may have a really good personality, or maybe they know the job in theory, like, oh, I can sell insurance or whatever, or I can make widgets. But the Colby lets me know in that specific job what I'm looking for. And there can still be outliers. I'm an outlier for most of the agents. I'm a very fast, quick start. And most of the agents we hire are not. They're not quick start at all. But across the board, almost every single one of us is high in fact finding. And I'm like, all right, that's kind of good, right? You know, we should be checking. I mean, we get spam emails just like everyone else of all these new products and all these things that can happen. And then we also have to deal with the government and their rules and their regulations. I'm glad that we have agents that dig into the facts. I don't know that I would hire an agent who was in the lower, the 1, 2, 3 of fact finding, because it wouldn't be appropriate for that job. Now, a receptionist, maybe, because they're not having to dig for facts, right? They just need to have a great personality and are willing to talk to people. So Colby's helped a lot. And we have also implemented it and let our staff have their spouses take the Colby so that they can, their spouses can understand. It's a little inside joke sometimes when there's somebody that will go, I bet you they're high in a fact-finding Colby, or that person's, good with tangibles or whatever. So yeah. We use that one a lot. DISC has just been between me and Kevin. We haven't done it with the whole staff yet. I still kind of want a personality, not necessarily personality test, because personalities are kind of obvious, but I almost feel like how personalities interact with each other. Because I think being in a small town where people haven't necessarily had experience with lots of different people makes it hard for them necessarily sometimes to understand how other personalities are, and that's just a personality of that person. Sure. Don't take it personal. Like, they don't want to come out with us after work. Well, why don't they want to be with me? Well, it's got nothing to do with you. His personality is he's exhausted. He's just spent all day with people. He wants to go home. And you're like, woo, I spent time with people. I want to go out. It excites it, So I do want to do that to help people understand that other people's personalities isn't about them. Sure. And, different personalities handle things like conflict differently too, right? I mean, right. Some are more out there. Shut down one versus the attack one, or right. Yeah. And that can have an impact on the dynamics and the sharing of information and everything that you were mentioning earlier about, learning about the business and new systems and all that. It's important, it seems. Talk to me a little bit about the values of the organization and how they've evolved and helped you with growth of the business. I think I have to say the reason our core values are what they are is because of my parents. My dad was a teacher. He would always tell me why I was doing what I was doing. He would be like, let's go change the tires on the car and then this is how you do it. And this is why you do it. And this is when this might happen. And it didn't matter what it was. And I'm very much my dad. So here I am in 2013, everybody hates the Affordable Care Act or they love it. They either know nothing about it or and so I had to learn it. And so I kept educating people. And then in the meantime, one of the other ladies, Dorcas, who handled Medicare, that's just what she does too. She's educating them. She's telling them what Medicare is, what's ABC. And so our core value just became about education almost accidentally, partly out of necessity to explain what the Affordable Care Act was, that Obamacare wasn't a thing. It was just a nickname the media gave the Affordable Care Act, and educating people. And there were plenty of agents who didn't, who were just like, how about the Affordable Care Act? You don't have to have this Obamacare. I'll give you the Affordable Care Act. And that's just not in my nature to do that. Like, I want people to know what they have. And when they walk away, they're less likely to change because they know what they have, right? And so as we grew and we brought new staff on, they saw that. I mean, I'm teaching them why it is what it is. And so then they start educating. It just became part of it. And when we formally made our company, we brought in somebody to help us do the core values. And the staff were very much instrumental in picking our core values. Because as owners, you can say what you want, and maybe you should do that when it's just, you're either just yourself or there's just two of you. But at this point, we had like 6 employees. We wanted them to be a part of it. And so we came up with Educate First. That's kind of one of the primary ones. And that's whether it's Medicare, employee benefits, or individual health insurance, life insurance, all of those short-term and long-term disability and long-term care. We want to educate, own it. None of us are perfect. And it's okay to make mistakes. And I think there was a time period, maybe the 80s and 90s, where we all kind of had this fake persona of perfection. We always had to be perfect. And that was the expert, right? The expert had to be perfect. But I think our society is sick of that. And it's okay to say, wow, I messed up and I'm really sorry. The celebrity out there who does something wrong or was caught from something way back when, who says, I'm sorry, I was stupid. Even back then, it wasn't appropriate. I have so much more respect for that person than the one who tries to justify things or say it wasn't or whatever. So I think own it is one of our other really key ones. The learn and lead is kind of an internal one about it's okay to learn some stuff and show us. We want you to learn things and show other people within the building, within our staff, maybe outside, help other people, because why not? There's plenty of agents. There's plenty of people for every agent out there. There's still thousands and millions of people without insurance. So we don't have to compete even within our own industry. The happy to help is the other one that is like crucial. If we're not happy to help our clients and help our staff, each other, it's not just an external thing. We need to be happy to help with people. Because why? Because we are the experts. If we're not happy that we're helping, then why are we doing this? Oh, they're asking for help again. It's like, well, then, yeah, you're the expert. That's why they're asking. So we need to be happy about that. And
Sure.
Be your best self is the other internal one, where I want people to be them. I want them to be the best of them. I'm not saying just whatever, be a slob and you got food stains on your shirt. And you're like, I'm just being me, but I don't want somebody to feel like they can't be themselves, because I don't want to be that way. I want to be me. And we should always strive to be the better version of ourselves, right? We've hired some people who did not have appropriate clothing when they got hired because they never had a job in an office. They didn't even know what appropriate attire was. And so we gave them the grace to learn that and to get there and saying, all right, that particular outfit may not have been appropriate, and now they're like now themselves, but a better version, So
that's great.
Those core values are like pretty crucial. And now they're in a big sign on our lobby, so everybody sees them.
Yeah.
But we see them too, right? Every day we walk in, there they are. They're up front, and
I'm sure you reference them when necessary, right?
Yep.
It sounds like the core values have really helped with people, whether they're employees or even your customers, understand what Next Step is all about, and maybe even help make decisions when there's different solutions or ways that an issue could go. What else have you done with the employees to sort of take it to the next step, if you will, around like different processes that you've put in place or are building to really help employees understand what their objectives are and reward them for accomplishing certain things, that type of stuff? What have you done?
Culture is really important to me. And so it has been a learning curve, right? New business owner. I know a lot more now at 5 years than I did at 2 years or 1 year. It is acknowledging that some people need more hands-on at first than others. And some people love social events, but then, okay, if I just have social events, the person who doesn't like social events feels like he's not being rewarded, or she's like, oh, great, another one, right? And so it's been really crucial for me, important to me, to try and figure out what as a whole will help everybody. So there's not a universal, like everybody likes one thing, but we try to show them appreciation. So we have a very rough time period. October, November, December, and January are really hard. I mean, we just work hard, and it's because of clients. We're not working hard because we want to, but none of us want our clients to end up in the wrong plan, end up without insurance. So we work really hard. So we give them lunches for free every Friday. We just do random ones. We give them a week off. The Medicare department gets a week off in December, and the under 65 gets a week off in February, because you're exhausted. I want you to go home, and we pay them for this. It's not part of their vacation. It's just go home. You don't have to stay here, but you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We want them to go home. We have 2 raises that we do. One that's kind of, I think it's unique. I don't know if anyone else does it. Maybe we'll send a trend. Not everybody's going to be a top tier employee, but everybody's cost of living goes up, and that's frustrating. When you're in a job and the mark is from 1% to 3%, and you're like, but I'm not a top tier person, and so you get 1%, and maybe you're you're not like you need to get fired. So we have the annual notice or annual raise in January of whatever Social Security raise is. And we just call that the cost of living raise. They're going to get it. And it's not about merit. Now, they get a better raise in July based on merit, based on their work ethic. Are they improving? Have they gone up? And there's catches in there. We talk to them about it. But they all know they're going to be taken care of. Now, they may not keep their job. The incentive for that better raise, the bigger one, is there. We're not just, hey, everybody gets 5% every year, no matter what. We also give them 4-day work weeks in the summertime. So in October, November, December, we work more than 5 days a week, it feels like. And so June, July, August, they get 4-day work weeks paid for 5. And so we want them to have that summers off. I mean, and we're also in the Midwest, right? So the Midwest is like, that's when we get to do stuff, is in the summer. So it's like, all right, take breaks off.
We have those few weeks.
Right. That's it. We got 3 months, go. And so, but we're not closed. We still have a receptionist here of some sort. We take turns, because the receptionists get to have their 4-day work week. So everybody has to volunteer for at least one Friday. And there was no complaining about that. They worked amongst themselves on which Friday that was. And next year, some of them, there'll be days when there'll be 2 of us. And if you want to come in, hey, you can come get caught up without anything else being added onto your plate, because there's nothing going on. So those are some of the things we do to help them feel appreciated. We still do other, baseball games, or we did the escape room. That was a lot of fun. We have a Christmas party. So, we try and do other little things in there, but.
That's great. I mean, it sounds like you're linking pay to performance, but you also recognize the cost of living and separately. And you started, which I think is pretty cool, about recognition and how important that is to authentically and truthfully recognize employees for the hard work that they're putting in particular during this crazy time that you have right now, which I do appreciate you reserving some time to even have this discussion with me in the middle or the beginning of your
We're just starting.
So, really appreciate that. Any nuggets that you would provide to someone that's thinking about starting up their own business? And, what you've learned through that whole process, just some simple nuggets.
There's a couple of them. And one is, draw your boundaries now, not when you're overworked. I do not give my cell phone out to clients. I'm sorry. I don't care that in the beginning, you're like, oh, it's only 3 clients, and now it's 4. And all of a sudden people are calling you at 10 o'clock at night, expecting you to answer, and no way, that it's so much harder to take that call back. Right.
Right.
So draw whatever it is I'm going to be done at 5 o'clock so I can be with my family. Do it. Just draw that line in the sand, and this is it. Even though you're just starting out, maybe you've only got 2 hours worth of actual work to do. Go home at 5. Just stick with those boundaries. That imagine that you're going to have thousands of whatever. You got 1,000 employees. What is that a boundary if you have 10 employees? And then go with your gut with staff, like the personality. If somebody could come with all the skills, but if they don't jive with you, if they don't have the right fit with your culture, with your personality, just go with your gut and say, I'd rather train somebody with the right personality than take somebody who in theory knows their stuff, but doesn't have the right fit for my culture. I've made that mistake. I hired somebody because I'm like, well, I really need something. I shouldn't have hired her. It was not a good fit for her or me, and so definitely kind of go with your gut. But on the other hand, no, you're going to have staff that you may not get along with to start with. There might be that day. Is it them or is it us, right? We have to learn when we have to let go. And I get it. It's hard. This is our baby. Like, this is how we do it, right? We're successful in whatever it is we're doing. So they have to do it the way we do it because it's successful, but it's successful because it's the way I do it. Go back to what's the end result? What is it that needs to be done? Show them how I do it. And as long as the end result is done, I have to let them do it.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't enter it in the data in the exact same way I do into the CRM, who cares, right? It doesn't need to be done my way, as long as when I go to the CRM, the information's there. Yeah. So, and it's hard when you're so passionate about something and you just like want to have them do it your way. And I don't know if it was, I remember seeing the grid, right? Write down what you love to do, what you like to do, what you're good at, but don't necessarily like or love, and then what you hate to do. And I think that's the other thing, just do that. And as soon as you can get rid of the hate, especially when you first start, right? You kind of are doing it all. But as soon as you can afford to pay somebody to do what you hate because they love it, do it. Get it off. You're paying yourself 3 times as much money as you're going to pay them, and they're better at it. And, so that's really what my advice is. Get that. What is it you love, like, and hate? And that may change. It's okay. Things that I used to like, I do not like anymore. Like it's a nuisance to me, but that's because my job has changed. I'm not the office receptionist anymore. I'm the owner. So the things I liked as a receptionist or office manager, I don't like anymore. Yeah. But that's because it's not my job anymore, so it's okay.
Yeah. The farther you're away from it too, you're not as good as you used to be on that,
right?
Which is okay because your eyes are focused elsewhere. Like maybe even more strategic. Where are we going to grow this business?
Right. I'm looking more forward, and I don't need to look back. And I do. I'm not saying you can't check on your employees, because you absolutely have to kind of see what they're doing, but eventually you can't micromanage, because then you're just doing 2 jobs. Why did you hire them if you're going to micromanage them?
Right. And you probably even have to start micromanaging them more because they know that the trust isn't there. And
right.
They step back, right? And you want them to step forward and step in, lead in.
And entrepreneurs also need to know you're not going to hire other entrepreneurs. They're not going to be you. Because if they were you, they wouldn't be working for you. They'd have their own business. Yeah. And I think sometimes we can get hung in that. Like, you're just looking for another you, right? The one who worked really hard and put all their money, energy, and effort into it. And it's like, wait a minute. Why would they do that? This isn't their business. They're not an entrepreneur. And if they were, great. They're going to do all this stuff for you and then leave and either take the stuff with them or leave you hanging because you had one person who did the job of 2. And now you're like, what do I do? So it's okay not to have entrepreneurs on your staff.
I hear that. I hear you've sort of balanced that out as well with this freedom, enough freedom and enough framework. Like, you gave examples of that all the way through. with the ERP or the CRM implementation and getting people involved early to design, but yet there's enough freedom there for people to be involved and get their ideas out there, and also a framework for how, and certainly in your industry with the standards that you have too to comply with. So you balance that somehow as an entrepreneur. That's terrific.
And you do have to have your boundaries and your hard, what's the hard nose, right? With staff. And we've had to let people go that were wonderful people. It felt bad. They were bad situations, but like, no, you've crossed a firm no. Like, this is detrimental to our business, which means it'll be detrimental to our clients. And we've given you chances. It is that is probably one of the hardest things, I think, sometimes, is balancing taking care of your staff, but you also have to take care of your business, because if your business doesn't exist, none of the staff is going to get taken care of. So
right,
it's never fun firing somebody, even if they need to go.
Yeah,
I had some that needed to go, but it still sucked, because we've all been fired. We all know what that's like, and it's hard. But
yeah, it is. It is. But it sounds like it turned out pretty good for you when you had that in your experience. So
it did.
That's usually what's ends up happening, right?
There was the relief. My first one, I wrote all the reasons to let her go and all the reasons to keep her, and it outweighed. Like, it just was not a good fit. It didn't matter that the person knew insurance. And I thought the idea of letting her go was this release off my shoulders. Well, okay. And the people, some of the ones we've let go, the whole staff knew it needed to go too.
Yeah.
And they feel better because,
the person involved too, probably the same, really.
Right. It's not really
deep enough into it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're not a good fit, it's, for me, this isn't a good fit for them and their life either. So
you do it with dignity. You do it with dignity, and you take care of them as best as you can. And
right,
that's great. And in line with your values, then you're doing the right thing. It sounds like, and that's what you guys do. So that's terrific. Well, we could continue to go on, and it would be great, and it would be valuable for our listeners for sure. I'm going to respect your time, and this has been terrific, Kristina. I really appreciate you providing us some input into how you've approached this business, this line of business, this market, and owned and actually purchased into it and bought into it and partner with a partner, and now have a staff, and it's just terrific. You're continuing to evolve your business, and you realize that there's just levels that you go through, and you've been going through those, and levels of maturity, if you will, and it's a great journey, and it seems like you're pretty excited about it.
We have nowhere to go but up. What's that phrase? Nobody's holding me back but me. So it's very exciting to be in this position as a 52-year-old woman who never thought she was going to do anything more than run an office. It's kind of exciting
you've only just begun, right?
That's right.
I mean, exactly. And that's great.
Like, I got a lot to do before I retire.
Absolutely. And you're probably going to be dabbling in something always, and that's great, because that keeps us learning.
Yeah,
that's important, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, and for our listeners, remember that the nuggets that were provided, the continuous improvement in building a strong relationships within the industry and with your employees, and understanding your employees is so important and key to leading and growing a business. And until next time, keep simplifying and thriving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Simplify, Lead, and Grow podcast. We hope this episode provided you with valuable insights and actionable strategies to apply in your leadership journey. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing and leaving a review to help us reach more listeners. Be sure to share this podcast with fellow leaders ready to simplify their approach, lead with purpose, and grow their business. Until next time, continue to lead with passion and grow with purpose.